What's up, Bree Hive? First of all, welcome to my IG Live, and you already know what time it is. It's time for Truth Talks, where we're about to hit you with nothing but straight facts. So tell a friend to tune in tonight, okay? All you gotta do is head over to Fox Soul, and you can also find us on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, tonight we're talking about reparations. So make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments, because we want to hear what y'all think. And you can agree or agree to disagree with us. We want to know it all. All right, we about to go live. Look, even iPhone agrees. Okay, y'all ready? We about to go live on TV in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan Cameron, syndicated radio host out of ATL, but you can catch me in different markets around the country. But more importantly, you can catch me right here on Fox Soul 5 nights per week with another great episode of Truth Talks. And Bree Renee will now introduce herself and tell them who she is.
Hey, y'all. If you don't know, I'm Bree Renee, straight from the A, an influencer, radio and television personality. And I'm excited to be here with my Truth Talks family. All my life, I've wanted to be a talk show host. So I'm excited to be right here on Truth Talks, talking the truth with my truth adventures. And we want to hear what you think is the truth, okay? Because you know I'm going to always air my own business out because I'm a little guilty of oversharing, all right? But I want to know what y'all thinking in the comments, so drop it in the comments below.
Now, Truth Talks is a show that has your back, front and side, when it comes to pop culture and politics. So I got to introduce the rest of my co-hosts and telling the people that you need to know. First off, we call her Dr. Viral, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
You just like to pick on me, Ryan. What's up, y'all? What's up, Doc Squad? It is your favorite doctor per usual, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, psychology expert, life coach, and guess what? Best-selling author, president of NAACP, the biggest, baddest civil rights organization in the world. But what's most important is I'm here with my Truth Talk family, and we're going to talk some truth tonight. So get your truth juice ready, and y'all get ready to rock and roll.
All right. Also, last but not least, Willie Moore Jr.
Welcome, Truth Talks family. Willie Moore Jr., host of the Willie Moore Jr. Show and the Love You More Show. And now I'm on this show, and it's about to be about truth. My job here is all about faith, fun, and just a tidbit of frustration when I'm talking to Dr. B. Flat.
All right, so let's get started with our trending truths. Are y'all ready? All right, here we go.
Now, singer BB Winans, my dear friend, is opening up about his friendship with Whitney Houston and talking about her struggles with fame. Now, BB says Whitney wanted to walk around in malls and do everything that regular working people do. He also said Whitney sometimes ran away, and her hideaway, get this, was his house in Nashville. Was it too much pressure placed on Whitney? And should the media offer more grace towards celebrity? What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I remember when I was young and the first time I met Lil Bow Wow, he was like the big star when I was a kid. My mom pulled me aside. She said, listen, I'm going to take you in here and you're going to meet him, but you better not act like a fool, okay? He is a regular person. And from that moment, I always remember that these celebrities are regular people just like you and I. They want to be treated like that. And I can't imagine, that's the thing about fame. I don't really want to be too famous where I can't do regular stuff either, like go to the grocery store looking homeless.
Yeah, no, seriously. Because, like, for me, growing up in the inner city as a little girl, you know, there was that hood celebrity where you're the pretty girl and people notice you. But as I've come more into my career of this celebrity lifestyle that I have now, I'm on the plane, the stewardess, the person. Let me tell you, I was sitting in regular coach. The lady next to me said, Dr. Bryant, it is you. I said, hey, beautiful. She said, girl, I thought you'd be way up there in first class. I'm like, well, no, I'm frugal and I don't want to spend my money on first class. So, but yeah, I think they need to give them some grace. And I think celebrities are human. Yeah. And I think that we need to know that there's a time and place for things and that we need our space and we need to be able to be human and be regular, do normal stuff.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I've heard was Barack Obama talking about the fact that he wished that he could just be a regular person again. And then Bruce Springsteen said, this is the price you have to pay for realizing your dreams. You know, you go out and you want to have all these notoriety. And when people come up to you, a lot of times they don't know what to say. They fan out and they act crazy, but I mean, it's part of the program. I mean, when people see you sometimes, they see you out in the public, you don't know, they come up to you and they act like it might be the last time they'll ever see you. So I always say you got to be gracious to them as well as fans.
You do have to be gracious, but it can be a little off-putting when you just walking down, somebody run up and put a camera in your face, like, take a picture with me, take a picture with me. But speaking of pictures, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Kenya Moore regrets exposing explicit photos of her new co-star, Brittany Edie, that led to her exit on the reality show. Following the incident, Kenya told producers that she was scared about threats being made towards her. However, she didn't feel like the show's producers were taking care of the situation and claims they made her feel like a black Karen. She said she found out a lot of information, especially in the explicit world, about her co-star Edie, but she's owning her mistake. And Andy Cohen praised Kenya Moore for taking accountability and says, I thought it was great for her to finally take up this accountability. Do y'all think Kenya is just apologizing to get back on the show?
Yes. That little coin and that notoriety is here's the thing. I don't think Kenya needs the coin. I think she's working and doing some different things. But that notoriety, man, like the one thing, like we talked about Mayor Giuliani in New York. Like it wasn't the fact that he didn't have money and can sustain himself, but fame is a terrible drug. Yeah. I think Kenya doing what she got to do to get back on that too.
And let me add to that, there's different levels of fame. These reality shows ain't no joke. They are the highest rating shows on TV. I literally did Basketball Wives LA for one season. I came on as a psychology expert to help the ladies, and they weren't very open to me helping them. I think they looked at me like more of a competition than an expert. And so I went from Dr. Bryant, took my hat off to Cheyenne.
Right.
Checked a few of them. And when I tell you, people will come to my shows. I've done Teen Mom, co-produced it. We won, nominated for the best reality show on TV. You know, people will come up to me for the one season of Basketball Wife and say, oh my God, you're on Basketball Wives. I'm like, reality TV ain't no joke. So what I'm saying to Kenya is, you're right, the notoriety, the celebrityness, the status that comes with just being on reality TV, and the money that comes from what you get from partnerships and collaborations off of TV is crazy. She is totally missing her bag in every freaking way. She's totally missing her bag.
Here's the problem with this, right? Bravo and Andy Cohen, they sit back and they make all the money off these people, and they chew them up and they spit them out. They spit Portia out, they spit Nene out, they ran Candy away from the show, and then now they're doing the same to Kenya. They've also realized the fact that they can do something like BravoCon and get all these people, these suckers, to pay all this money to go sit in front of these reality shows, and then they chew them up and they spit them out. I think it's a big money grab, and I haven't watched a reality show in many, many years because I was actually on the show when Greg and Nene got married. I emceed the whole wedding. I was on that, and then they kept saying, we're going to give you exposure. You're going to give you exposure. I'm like, man, if I get any more exposure, I'll be damn naked. So no more exposure for me. Where is the check? Experts are saying that holiday shopping has reached a record high of $902 per person, according to the National Retail Federation. The number comes from a recent consumer survey, and it's about $25 more per person than it was last year. A large part of consumers have already started shopping, with 2 out of every 5 consumers beginning their holiday list. Now, here's what somebody told me. They were talking about how we as black people, we wait until the very end of the year and then we flood the economy with billions of dollars because we are so entrenched in making sure that people have stuff for the holidays. We spend billions of dollars on Christmas.
I think it's because we've gone so long without. And like you said, if we've been penny pinching and doing all this throughout the holidays, I'm not saying it's right, but it's the one time of the year that we do want to show our loved ones how we feel about them. And then, like, I don't know if y'all have ever had that feeling or grew up where you didn't get anything on Christmas and now we have social media where everybody is posting their gifts. So it can make people feel left out if they don't have something to open on during the holiday season.
Yeah, I think we have a very spendthrift culture. And I think that we don't manage money well. I think that we need a lot of financial literacy. And I think that because we are the biggest consumers, if we consume our money and spend it in a way that ends up being more investments and things that give us a return on what we're spending, an ROI, I think that we would be the wealthiest consumers here. Because if we're spending all of it, we're the biggest consumers. That means we ain't broke. That means we have it to spend.
Yeah.
We're just spending it.
But
Right?
you can spend it in financially responsible ways. Like one of my exes gifted me crypto. I still have that crypto for Christmas.
And so when it go up, keep him, cause or is your ex?
He gone.
Oh, he gone. He let him go.
Yeah.
But the crypto,
crypto's
but the
still in
crypto
the
stay.
account.
No, but here's the thing. This is what I believe. Like you gotta start planning ahead. Like the one thing I do with the kids is I kind of know where they're gonna be in December, and we're gonna start like in June and just start putting it away, doing whatever we have to do. They're kind of aware that we have it, and I'm like, hey, you can lose it all throughout the year, and it just kind of hangs over the head.
And I just want to add this one last tip. I just want to say this tip to everybody that whatever you make, I do this and it works. I put 70% away. We talked about the thing, right? I put 70% of everything I make to the penny into a whole nother account. I label that account investment account. I only live off 30% of what I make. That 70% gets invested every time that 70% gets to $100,000. I invested in something. Even if something is less than 100K, I'm investing. So my investments just grow, whether it's real estate, whether it's crypto, whether it's a company, whatever you want to do, invest it.
Well, hell, Dr. B, let me tell
saying.
you something.
Right.
70%.
Everybody not able to
Everybody
do
ain't
that.
doing 70. Damn, Dr. B.
But that's the rule. It's
That's the
70%.
rule, but it's also the rule.
is to live off of 30% of your income.
But the
No,
average
but-
American cannot afford that. They're barely
the
making
goal.
minimum wage.
These
Listen,
are first
that's
world
the goal.
problems, ladies
But-
and gentlemen.
That's
you know,
what?
when I get every
No.
$100,000, I like to put a little money into my jet. You know, I want to say,
You know
and I
what?
also want to take.
You got a jet?
No, I ain't got no jet. I'm just doing my Dr. B.
Oh.
Up next, social media rumors have been
70%.
spreading like wildfire since the election. Keep it here to find out more. My private jet, I wish you would try to come and try to give me
God,
some of
now
your
you're all
every $100,000. I ask another
All y'all
movie.
do is
my
pick on
income,
me.
Ryan.
All y'all do is pick on me.
Girl, they can't afford that.
He said 70%.
And welcome back to our show. Now that we've covered the latest news out of Hollywood, let's dive into what's happening politically in Black America. And as always, we keep it 100.
Flat out. Now, right on the heels of Donald Trump's victory, a rumor started circulating all over social media that white supremacy groups were planning to attack black people from now until the inauguration.
Now, a woman posted that she learned from a friend in the Gwinnett County, Georgia Sheriff's Office that KKK members from North Carolina are planning plots against blacks, especially black women, because in their eyes, they are easy targets.
I don't know which black woman they think they're going to, because they definitely not going to be no targets over here. But so far, all we're hearing from the officials is that this threat is more than not likely and it's definitely not real. In this current climate, should we really be thinking this is serious, and should we be more careful, like with these threats on social media? Is this something that we should take serious?
I actually heard about this from my nana, and she told me this, and this is not even from social media, so it's getting around even to the older crew, like they're hearing it. And at this point, you guys, I think it's better to be safe than sorry. I don't know, how do we know that it's not true or unsustained? Like the climate is so tense, racially tense right now. I think that as blacks, we need to be careful at all costs.
What does careful look like?
So, yeah, I think we
What does
should be
careful look
careful. I think we should be mindful. I don't like to say careful. We should not be fear-based. We should be mindful, and we should take it as serious. And I have to agree, this racial climate is getting real weird. Because I was at the airport, walked out to go to the shuttle, just walked by. And this is not to all white people, because I have white family, friends, and allies. It's not that. Just one white woman I walked by, and she said, "Get the away from me." And baby, Dr. Bryant checked out and Cheyenne checked in. I said, "Who in the are you talking to? Karen, we ain't gonna do this today." And the black lady next to me said, "Sis, thank you so much. I work here," and I couldn't tell her. She's been telling me racist slurs this whole time she's been standing here. Right. I said, "Take your ass to the back of the line and shut up." And everybody around, even the white people, started laughing because I said it like an old mama, like, "Take your ass to the back." And she took her bag and marched off. But it was just weird because she just like looked at me dead in my face and just was like, "Get the fuck out." And I was like, I didn't do anything. So what I'm saying is this like frustration, this aggression toward like black, I want to say I'm a woman is real. I feel like it used to be towards black men only.
Yeah.
It's towards black women. Let me tell you this much though. If I see a black woman getting disrespected in any way, Dr. Brian Howe is thrown in the trash. I'm going straight inner city Cheyenne because I'm sticking up for my black men, my black woman. Sis, it's not happening. Period. If I see a white woman getting disrespected by a white woman, I'm checking the white woman. So when I'm an older white woman, I'm saying because I'm for don't disrespect nobody and definitely don't disrespect my black sisters.
Well,
we're not playing that.
The black women I know, they have two people that ride with them, Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson.
Yes,
and
Lord.
you run up on them.
Well, add XD.
You
Add
ain't
XD,
you
I
don't
have an
want what's
XD9.
going to happen at the end of that conversation, because before the results of the
Come on.
election, just about the fact of always being out there and being alone. I mean, we were going out on a date the other day. We saw a man. My wife came back, and it was a man who was just laying down on the street. And she called me. She was like, hey, there's a guy here laying down on the street. And next thing I know, she was trying to talk to him. And I was like, hey, get back in the car. I'll be there in like 5 minutes. And I drove up there because it's so many times that you can get duped. You don't know what's going on and what somebody's going to be trying to do. So, I mean, I think, we're going to be more careful, but I don't want us to be scared.
Yeah,
No, don't be
scared is not necessary, but we do got to understand what type of leader we working with. He's now put a battery in the back of people who believe all of these things before he even got there, and he's becoming a champion of foolishness. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, we know who we voted in. So there should have been some precautions even thought of when we knew that the day that we seen him become president, like we got to say, okay, cool, now we understand. But here's the thing, and I got to play devil's advocate. Like I was out and I seen some African-American people, music loud, smelling like weed. I was just in Savannah, Georgia, and I was just like, hey, we not in that climate no more. Like we can't pretend and act like that things aren't changing. We have to conduct ourselves like citizens, and we cannot be the people who just gonna be ignorant for ignorance sake. Here's the thing. We've had a really cool, I want to say like 8 years, right? 4 years. Joe Biden was there, and things were different, but we gotta know now that things are a little different, so we gotta conduct ourselves different. Me and my lady, we was walking down the pier, and she said, do they know DEI about to be over? You are embarrassed. Like, we got to stop being this way. We got to be smart about it. We got to protect ourselves. We can't put ourselves in harm's way.
But I think, when he was president the first time, he put the battery in people's back.
Yeah.
This isn't anything new, because you saw what happened on January 6th. I mean, those people was crazy. The right candidate won this time, because in this building right here where we're in, they put an APB out, said, hey, for the next 2 days, identity cards only. You cannot get upstairs, because they were afraid of what was going to happen, right? And now what you're saying is they're all happy and everybody's all good and geeked about it, because, they felt like it was the outcome that they had. But, before Biden was in office, Trump was already setting the battery up. I mean, it used to be like closeted racism, but now all of a sudden you know who it is, and they're saying it to your face. And that was before Biden got in office.
Yeah, I can definitely say if Tupac would have made it, and he would have lived. He had that much influence over our generation. If he told us, like we was walking around, I know cats right now, they got thug life on their stomach. If I can just be real honest. He had that much influence. So when you realize that these leaders have that much influence, it's either they're gonna be the leaders that God has called them to be, or they're gonna be the leaders that they wanna be. And I think we're seeing a leader who's choosing to be who he wanna be, and we're reaping the benefits of that.
And I do think collectively, just as a black culture, a black community, I don't want us to be fear-based. I want us to be free. I want us to live. I want us to create. I want us to collaborate. I want us to make sure that if we see one of us in trouble, even if it is with another colored person, that we stand up and protect each other. We have each other's back, because we are in a climate where we have to be able to come together.
Up next, do white people deserve reparations for reverse discrimination? You don't want to miss this.
Of course they do.
On True Talk.
Of course they do.
And welcome back to True Talks. Very few black people in America think they'll see reparations in their lifetime. And with Donald Trump as president, things feel even more hopeless.
Now, in a resurfaced clip from July 2023, Trump says he was going to ask the Justice Department to penalize colleges for DEI so he can pay restitutions to white people who were victimized. Take a look at this.
I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies.
Wow. So is Trump advocating for reparations for white people or no?
That's exactly what he's doing, but it infuriates me. I don't know if y'all seen that clip of Jasmine Crockett, and she was saying, when has a white person been marginalized? When has a white person been discriminated against? When have you been dragged apart and dragged out of your homes and dragged away from your families? Like, when have you been discriminated against when it comes to jobs? Like, it hasn't happened, so I don't think they deserve reparations. That's just ridiculous at this point. Like, y'all literally stole this country, not only from Native Americans, but the black people that were here at first, and now you expecting them to give us something? It's just not gonna happen.
So for years and years, companies, corporations, colleges, et cetera, they have put together legislation to make sure that you have a certain amount of African American people in here, in there, and here, and there, right?
Yeah.
For us, that's really, really great. But I want to tell you, on the other side of the coin, it has always been a hidden secret in the communities that says, why do they get the opportunity to have these rights? They don't necessarily care about slavery and the injustices that have happened the way some people view it. I know you can frown all you want, but the way some people view it is that this country is an equal opportunity lender for everybody. And nobody should have one leg up on somebody else. This is just the truth.
Right, and let me say this. We have a white man who's fighting for reparations for white people. We've had a black president that didn't sign a reparation reform bill. We had a black woman president that was running that didn't say when she got in office she was going to sign a reparations reform bill. The only person that authored reparations and fought for it was a California state senator. We had him on our show, Senator Stephen Bradford. Stephen Bradford had 3 reparation bills.
Nobody
Black people are not the ones supporting it, okay?
Yeah.
Black Caucus, who he is the vice chair of the Black Caucus, they denied the approval of the black reparations. 3 of that he authored, okay? NAACP supported it, but Black Caucus said no. Legislation said no. Congress said no. Kamala said, I will have Congress, I would advise them to research it more. Research more, sis. There's been 5 years of reparations committee that has already researched this whole reparation bill. What are we researching more? So what I'm saying is, before we get mad at a white man who's doing something for white people, we as black people need to sit up here and press the Black Caucus, press the black organizations who are not supporting something for us. That is a problem. They are the first line of defense when it comes to approving resolutions, approving legislation. We can't be mad at somebody who doesn't do something for us but does it for themselves. When do we become accountable to do the shish for ourselves? We have to support
Thank
those
you
things.
for saying shish.
Yes, but that really pisses me off.
3/4 of black Americans do support reparations for slavery. More than 3/4 of white Americans are against the idea. This might explain why Kamala Harris was evasive on the topic during her presidential run.
Girl, please. Those percentage of black Americans are not the decision makers. So yes, I'm one of the percent. We all probably are part of the percent that support it. The folks that have to support it are the decision makers, the Black Caucus, the Senate, the seat, the Congress, the elected officials. They have to support this bill or it does not go through.
It's all rhetoric at this point. I mean, with Donald Trump controlling the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, and all these new judges he's about to appoint, I'm sorry, y'all. I mean, I know it's all glitter and rainbows, but this ain't finna happen.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not gonna happen.
I agree.
Radio host Charlamagne the God called out Harris for her filibuster of an answer to A-listers who questioned on the show. Take a look at this clip.
And understand that we are talking about sons. We are talking about... And understand that we are talking about sons. We are talking about fathers. We are talking about grandsons. We're talking about grandparents. We're talking about uncles. And so I say that as a preface to say 2 other things, and then I'll keep going. One, to deal with... I mean, you like that? You caught that.
Okay, filibuster, ma'am.
So when it comes to reparations, are black leaders pandering to white voters?
Of course. When you know deep on the inside, when you're looking at the numbers and you know that this is something that people are going to take out of proportion, I've already given you the visual of the way the other side of America thinks. You already have enough. We've already done enough. We've already given you jobs. We've already given you scholarships. That's why we're getting rid of DEI. It's like it's been too long.
Yep.
We've given you that was the vantage point of reparation in the eyes of the other side, and we just got to be honest with it. So if you're running a campaign and saying I want more, it's kind of like
that was their way of saying you got your more.
Didn't you just say out your mouth that in order to get these be accepted into these programs or even be considered for the DEI programs in these schools and jobs, you had to be great? That didn't help the mass of black Americans. That helped only a few.
I'm just talking about perception.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I don't understand their mindset behind it. If I had to be exceptional just to get a seat at the table, while a lot of these same people, these white people, were granted admissions into these colleges just because of legacy or because of financial donations. That's not right.
So when we look at the history,
how do they think that that's right?
So listen, it's not how do they think it's right. but that is just what it is. This truth talk. So I got to give you the truth. The truth is, when you look at the DEI operations, when it comes to having to hire a certain amount of African American people, of course, you got to be just this much great. Well, everybody got to be great if you're gonna be in this position.
No, you
and now
don't.
I have to.
I'm gonna
Now I
let you
have
finish, but what Willie's saying is all of what they've given us, DEI, EOP, all the rest of these titles and acronyms they want to put to it, that was their way of saying, here goes your reparation. And that shit is maxed out through my language, so it's done.
But look how long they gave us DEI compared to how long we were in slavery. Like that, it is no comparison. We've only had DEI for less than 100 years. We were enslaved for 400.
We're not disagreeing with that. What we're saying is what the people on the other side did, all that they gave us is them saying, listen, this is your reparations that we're going to give you from the civil rights movement until now.
So I can
and you
steal
don't
a
get it
dollar
no more.
from you and give you a quarter and be quiet and take it.
And here's what it is. Here's the thing. After the George Floyd thing, and all of these companies started to invest in African American community and Black Lives Matter, and they started doing all of that, that was the pinnacle of what was going to happen.
For them.
That was reparations. That was the thought process. And no matter how much we want to squander it, make it feel like there's something else to be done, it is now time for us to realize the reality as African American people that we're going to have to do something different.
It's like what Nzinga said the other day when she was on the show. We got to quit going out and preaching it and putting it on social media.
Yes.
Just the same way they did with Project 2025. We got to come up with a plan. We got to strategize, organize, and then execute. That's the whole problem, is that we just jump out.
And keep it amongst each other.
And keep it amongst each other, because, I mean, if we're going to sit up here and react about it, then, of course, it's going to get out, and then it's going to get squashed.
Well, my thing is this. How do we do that when our leaders are being bought? When they rather be in these positions and be buddy-buddy with the president and get appointed these positions and get their financial checks from him versus actually standing with the people and actually doing something that's going to make a difference in our community. They're not doing that. These people in Congress, the black people, like you said, they didn't even support the reparations, so they're not coming up with no plan that's going to help us.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I want to call out faith leaders. You guys get an opportunity to speak to thousands upon thousands of people every single Sunday. I believe coming up, there's going to be an opportunity for you to put together a plan as faith leaders to understand that this is our best way to get the messaging out to all people, to make them understand what's really going on. And I want to challenge you guys, because at the end of the day, we can hoop, we can holler. My mom always told me it's not how high you jump when you shout, it's how straight you walk when you come down. Ooh. And so now this is a beautiful opportunity for you to get back in place. Martin Luther King wasn't the last person to use the pulpit as a place to get information out. Malcolm X is not going to be the last person who walked in that mosque and make sure that everybody understood the plan. As faith leaders, we now have a strong responsibility to give what's necessary and give a plan that is viable and valuable to people. And here's the thing.
And I was going to say, Willie, we got to make sure that the faith leaders aren't, to Bree's point, being bought out as well. Because
are you willing to mess up the money?
That's what
I think it's going to get so bad, Ryan, that the money pretty soon, like, listen, honestly, the money going to drive for you anyway. First, we're going for the immigrants. Secondly, we're going to take this thing to this stop and frisk to a whole nother level, and then it's going to start affecting your grandchild and your grandson. So before it happens to you, you have to see the bigger plan of what's going on. And you can't be bought when it's right under your nose and your child is being sentenced.
But when you're a faith leader and you're more wrapped around the celebrityness of it than being a faith leader, you're already being bought
out.
Only
2%. That's only 2% of faith leaders, right?
No, it ain't no 2% of faith leaders.
Most people who are pastors are bivocational. Like, we always talk about the mega pastor before the vast majority of pastors and faith leaders. I'm not saying that you got to have 30,000 people.
Talking about
I'm saying if you're talking to 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, 30 people, we have to make sure that we understand the message that we're giving to our people.
And the faith leaders who have the most influence are the mega ones. And the mega ones are being bought out. And this is why two things are happening. The millennials, like Bree said a few shows ago, are tapping out of religion and looking for someone who can actually give them the word and not try to either be sold out or get them in bed, if we're going to keep it real, okay? Or have multiple broken houses and home, but they faith leaders, they preaching about how you do something, but they ain't doing it themselves. Okay, second of all, we've talked to some of those. Wait a minute.
That's on a large scale, but everybody doesn't have a church. You can talk about 10 strong faith leaders who are large churches. Like, listen, we cannot put this jacket on when there are pastors out there who are leading a flock of 1,000 people, leading a flock of 500 people. The vast majority of pastors are bivocational, meaning that they go to work from 9 to 5 and they preach on Sunday. Most pastors are living in integrity and doing what they have to do. Although there has been a vast, big outpouring of people who have done wrong, you cannot put that jacket on everybody else. But it doesn't negate the opportunity that they have to get a message, to get back to my first point. So whether you slept with the parishioners or whatever you did, people are still coming into that church. Now you have a responsibility to make sure that you're getting the message out to get our people aware of what's going on.
I love it.
And that's what I was saying.
So guess what? So I'm going to take the jacket off of all pastors, that they all do it, but I'm going to put the jacket of accountability on the ones who ain't doing it. Because there are been fake leaders who need to be doing it, and accountability is real, and they are manipulating and gaslighting their congregation and the black community, and that is causing an issue. People are becoming further away from God and further away from...
All I was saying is that there has to be a responsibility to give the plan.
Coming, and it's called learned behavior, and they're learning learned behavior and principles that are tearing up our community. So just because you come into a church with a pastor who's preaching something that is tearing our community up does not mean you okay. You don't get to wear the title. You don't get to be a pastor and be in your congregation and not be responsible for your leadership on the people you're preaching to. That is the problem.
Dr. B, I understand.
That is the problem.
I understand what you're saying 100%. And I appreciate the passion. At the end of the day, if a pastor made a mistake, if people have done wrong and people are not handling things correctly, somehow in this web of Mandarin in the maze of mediocrity, whatever that thing may be, people are still coming. To my point initially, what I was saying, if it was 30,000 and it dropped down to 10,000, those pastors still have a responsibility to make sure that we are not just opening
And guess what? Hold on. And a lot of people are not coming because pastors are losing their members in their congregation. They're losing a lot of members.
We got more. Ding, ding.
Okay. Sorry. Alicia, my bad, baby.
We have
I'm sorry,
more. You know, President Obama blamed the politics of white resistance and white resentment as the reason why he didn't push for reparations during his presidency. Stay tuned for more on this topic. Oh, it's a 10-round fight, and Bree and Willie going at it again.
That's Dr. B.
And we're back on Truth Talks. Let's talk about our no-holds-barred conversation on reparation for slavery. It's your man, Uncle Rucker.
Amen.
And y'all don't need no reparation.
Amen.
Hey, here's the thing, Ryan. Native Americans have received land and billions of dollars for being forcibly exiled from their native lands. Japanese Americans won reparations for their incarceration in internment camps during World War II. They were able to accomplish this under a Republican President, Ronald Reagan. He signed the Civil Liberties Act in 1988 and even issued a formal apology. The question becomes, why can't we get reparations off the ground like other people who have already done it?
This is my question to you guys. Before we went to break, you guys were both making really great points. And my question is, like, who do we appoint, or who is the person that comes up with the plan to go about getting the reparations? As well as, once these millions of black people get reparations, how do we come up with a plan to actually make it make sense for us in a way that we get generational wealth? Because we saw what y'all did with them checks from Trump, or whoever gave us a check. Y'all was buying crab legs and everything else. So what we
So let me answer that, Bree. In California, there is a reparation committee that has already been formed 4 or 5 years ago. That committee's responsibility was to research reparations, explain why reparations was even something that was necessary. Why should anybody, even black people, approve it? They also created a reparations fund, because initially they said, okay, you want reparations, where this money gonna come from? The committee created a reparations fund that said we also have the money. All we need is for y'all, the House, the seat, legislators to approve it. Once you approve it, we can start to allocate the funds. Black people not only did their own research, this reparation committee, they also collected and found their own funding for it. All they have to do is have it approved. From where? Elected officials. When you have people in power like the Black Caucus, which is our first line of freaking offense or defense for black legislation, not approving it when their vice chair is a legislator, the author of the bill, that is a problem. That's a problem.
The bigger issue is, why don't you think they approved it? Because they know that if you are running with this type of rhetoric and thought process, your chances of ever going to the next level, it stops. Let's put it in highlighter. When they gave money for George Floyd, that was reparations.
Yeah.
When they gave the DEI, this is what they thought. Black people, this is your reparations. Here's the thing. When you see a culture of people who pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, African-American women graduating from college in large numbers, young African-Americans becoming amazing entrepreneurs, faith leaders, not only taking care of church, but making sure that the communities are good, seeing the deficit that they walked in. I would be afraid of you too if I gave you anything.
I was gonna say that, Willie. Do you think, like, because the Native Americans receive reparations, the Japanese receive reparations? You know what I'm saying? Why do they feel like? Is it because they're afraid of what we could do with it, and is it because we are the majority of the minority? Like, it's way more us than it is Native Americans left in this country. Is that why? And like you said, if we could make so much impact with so little, what will we do when they give us what we really
But
deserve?
also, to your
I think
point,
that because they believe that we're less of a person. You know, that's
damn.
But Ryan,
let me finish this point. I mean, I think that
who's
you know,
they?
white people think that, you know, black people, regardless of how we have made all these accomplishments, are still not received as equal people. And I think for all this pushback comes from the fact that they feel like we've given y'all enough.
Let me ask you this,
We've
Ryan.
given y'all enough,
What is it?
and we
Wait,
don't think
let
that
me
y'all
ask Ryan
deserve
this. Let him
anything
finish.
else. I
Let him
mean,
finish. Let him
like
finish.
to George Floyd's and to all the other people that, in what happened and the influx of money,
Yeah.
I felt they did that because they were forced to, not because it was in the goodness of their heart or they wanted to have, you know, a different way to look at things. It was because, you know what, we got to do this. We got to get on the train with everybody else. And as soon as they start, whoever that person was, they started pushing back and saying, why are y'all doing this? You see, all these major corporations are now pulling this money, and it will never be seen again because of what happened. I'm sorry, what happened with Black Lives Matter, with all that stuff that happened. It was a domino effect of people saying, see what happens when we gave them that money? They did something crooked with it, and that's why people started pulling
But
the
let me
money
ask you
away.
this, Ryan. Hold on. So that's the white people's answer for why they ain't on board with it. Why do you think the biggest black organizations, NAACP supported it? Let me be loud and clear about the we supported it. Why do you think Black Caucus and a lot of the black legislators, a lot of the black elected officials are not supporting it?
Because I think what Willie said is very true. When you come down to the bottom line, when you're in those back rooms and when you're reaching across the aisle, they're saying, hey, you know that if you try to do this, we're not going to reelect you. You know when you try to do this, we're not going to vote for you.
So
you know
saying they're
you're going to be
getting
put on these caucuses.
Absolutely.
I
They're
mean,
getting paid
it's
out too.
politics in everything.
And they get bought out at
That's
the
what
end
I'm
of the
saying.
day.
I
And we
wanna
have
ask Ryan
gone
this.
to,
It's
I think
not
our
even a
people
bother.
have left the point where we are a we society. We are only thinking about me, my family, my bank account, my wealth. So it's like,
That's right.
I'm only going to think about and make moves strategically on what's going to benefit me and not the greater good of my community.
Bree, let me be honest with you. You absolutely right. This is a me society, but not just with black people. This is for all people. All people are focusing
Not
on
Trump.
themselves.
No. Not Trump.
No, listen, that's how Trump got in. He can have rhetoric that talked about you as a woman. He can talk about transgenders. He can talk about children with autism. He can talk all of that, but people still voted him in because they wanted their house possibly to have a better economy. This is just the truth. But here's the
that's
thing.
what voting's
It's
about.
not just white people, right? It's also black people as well. There was a MAGA person that was here. He literally said, for all these years, this is what he said, this came out of his mouth. And this is when we kind of had our little issue.
Right.
Because he was like, you know, you were getting this and you were getting that and we were giving this and we're spending money on this. Now it's time to take it back and then people are going to have to fend for themselves. This is not just white people. There are African-American people who are actually tired of it as well,
That's
saying,
what-
listen,
yes.
now we have to go to work.
That's what I
Now
was
there's not
gonna
going to be
say.
a
Yes.
silver spoon. Do I agree with it? No.
Right.
I do
Yes.
understand that there's a deficit in opportunities because you're African American, and baby, we gonna see. And that's
Right.
why I hope
When I-
that you
yeah.
got things together, investments or what have you. But we can't just put it on the other side of people and saying that it's just them, because I sat with an African American man who felt the same way.
Right, and I want to add to that, Willie, because there's also a big wealth gap disparity in the black community from the rich and the poor. And that wealth gap is starting to become a larger gap, meaning the black folks who already quote unquote made it, they're not tripping off reparations. And a lot of the people who quote unquote made it who are black, they are on these big boards, they are decision makers,
right.
they are elected officials, they are not tripping out reparations. It's the folks over here who are saying, wait a minute, we're still trying to figure out a plan. We're trying to figure out how do we make it. We're trying to figure out how do we get from this side to that side. Reparations is something we do maybe want. We do maybe think we need that would help us get that jump up. So when you have this gap between two people in one community that can't relate to each other, that causes a marginalization between a community, not even between two different races. That's the gap that we have to feel as black people. When we come from the wealth gap, the inner city, I came from the hood to the hills. I try to make sure that I am as relatable in understanding the people who are still in the inner city where I came from. But it is hard for me too sometimes. I had a brother tell me, "You not in the hood no more, Shy. You don't understand what we need." And I'm going, talk to me because I want to know. But you're right, I don't know. I'm on flights. I'm on a speaking tour. I'm on a talk show. You're right, I'm doing well. So am I one that just needs reparations? No, but will I support it for people who I know are still there and need it? Hell yeah. But do I also have that wealth gap? I do, and it's unfortunate. This is why we gotta have think tanks. This is why we gotta be folks who go and mobilize people who are not where we are on this side and say, listen, got the Bentley, got the house, whatever, got the Porsche, but I'm here, what's up? How do we help y'all figure this out?
That's
and
not
how do
gonna
we
happen.
create a plan?
It's not going to happen because.
But it can. It can
but it's not going
Ryan.
to happen. I mean,
But
honestly,
it can.
I mean, it's all.
Tell us why.
It sounds great, but because of what's happened and what's been going on since the 70s and 80s, when we started to do, we're more worried about assimilation than segregation. It divided black people.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost saying like what we all need to do as black people.
good.
We ain't doing nothing as black people. You want to get a laugh? Ask about where's black unity, because there is none.
Wait, Ryan, explain the assimilation, because that's so good. Explain how black people are assimilating and it's causing that disconnect, because that's so good.
Well, I think, you know, the main thing is once you start to get a certain amount of wealth, the first thing you want to do is move away, right? But you don't want to teach other people the play, as you would say, and you tell them, how can I bring you along with us? How do I reach up and not a hand out, but a hand up? And that's what we're missing in this congregation that we have on Truth Talks, is that nobody is trying to say, here's what we need to do. I saw a big event this weekend. They brought in all these big time speakers, and the people who were sitting there that heard all these folks, all they felt like they got out of it was, I'm rich and you need to do this, but you don't have the money to do that. Right. You're an entrepreneur, but what is the plan? How do we do this? Because as somebody said, the reason that they give you 3 years to write off your taxes, because after 3 years, it's then beginning a hobby. Like I started a business, I got a restaurant for 2 years now. After the 3rd year, if I'm not making no money, it's now considered a hobby and I'm gonna get taxed for that. That's one of those things somebody needs to tell you when you go out and you follow your dreams and you're not, you know what, I wanna be an entrepreneur. I wanna have my own place to have all these different things. What are the pitfalls? If I could sit, I remember being in a meeting one time and Dave Chappelle was talking to Prince, and Prince said to Dave Chappelle, what did Dr. Maya Angelou tell you? And then Dave Chappelle said, she said to me, if I could tilt my head over and pour into you all of the mistakes that I have made, how much better would your life be? Because you're not sitting around and you're not telling people what's going on, and you just sit up and you just let people fail, and you don't say nothing about it, and next all of a sudden you say, well, I failed. I'm like, well, I wish you would have asked me, but you didn't ask me, and you didn't tell me. So that's a problem with black people. We will sit back and watch somebody crash and burn instead of saying, you know what? This gonna mess you up right here, and I'm gonna tell you why, because it happened to me. It never happens to us, it always happens to you.
But Ryan, how many of black folks, let's be real, we've probably been one of them at many times, also are not receptive to listening. A lot of black, not all, no, we ain't talking to you black people, of course, we talking to the other black people. You know what I'm saying? The other ones don't want to hear nothing. Don't want to hear anything. I mean, like, you know, I have a sibling that has a business, and I don't want to name a name of 7 of us, but I try my best to help that sibling with any business he or she has. Not open to the help. So how many of the black folks are not open to that when you're trying to give them that?
Yeah, I think that that's a lack of leadership, honestly, and I think that's where millennials, we are angry at, because we don't know how to ask what we don't know. You know what I mean? I can't ask a leader or a mentor something that I don't even know that I'm struggling with.
Why not just say, I don't know nothing?
I don't know nothing. Tell me from zero. You know what I mean? But especially when it comes to reparations, it's like, how do we even on a local grassroots levels? I'm in the street still. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at the point as some of y'all. I'm touching the people in the hood. So it's like, I know that their minds aren't even at the place where they're like, it's possible, let alone what the plan could be. So how do we get to that point where we're even localizing and organizing on that level?
Well, there's been some traction at the local level. Evanston, Illinois became the first city in the country to actually pay reparations, and New York and Philadelphia recently formed commissions, like Dr. Bryan said, to study the effects of slavery. Ultimately, is it up to the power of the people to create the energy to get action?
So
yes.
It is up to us. But now legislation is being passed that education can no longer come in with this slavery rhetoric, this type of education.
Yeah.
So they're pulling that out.
Okay.
So we understand that when you get organized and you start to create a plan, just know that there will be outliers to attempt to stop you from
Right.
doing what you're doing.
And I want to add.
So now the bigger question is, so what do you do when you pull that part out of our education and try to take that
So
for
the
the next
thing is,
generation?
it's not that education cannot be taught on slavery history throughout the country. It is that each state has their own ordinance, right? Just like cannabis. Cannabis is legal nationwide, but they leave it up to the state, and the state leaves it up to the city for the city ordinance to say if you can or cannot, or what the rules and regulations are. So he's leaving it up to each state to say, this state does not allow to teach Black history. This state is. So blue states will probably teach Black history. Red states will probably not teach Black history. And then people will have to watch this. Hold on, relocate if they don't like what's going on in their state or their city. But how many of the Black and brown people have the money to relocate?
That's what I'm
You
saying.
clown. They can't relocate. So now you got them stuck there again with their hands tied with no resources saying, look, if you don't like it, figure it out. Right? But how do they figure it out? They don't have the money or the resources to relocate or to get a better education or to get better resources. They don't. They're stuck.
And that's why we're seeing what's happening now with people who are of certain means and certain wealth. They're now deciding, you know, oh, Trump's president, so I'm moving.
I'm moving.
I don't know too many people that can say they can just up and move. Bree was talking about she was on a conversation with somebody who actually did that on a plane. They was like, they were so afraid of what was going to happen that they're going to go and take a break for the next 8 months. They mortgaged their house, they sold it, or put that truck in, in storage.
Where are they moving to?
So,
Just curious. Where are
He
they
went to
moving
Vietnam. He's going to Vietnam. He
Vietnam.
said, yeah, for 8 months because he's afraid of what's going to happen in the country. He said he's just going to wait it out and see how it happens.
Up next, should you hit it or quit it? We'll give it to you straight when we come back on Truth Talks.
Reparations not gonna happen.
No,
Nah,
not like John.
it's not.
And welcome back. We've asked our truth tellers to write in about their relationship issues, and my co-hosts are ready to dish out some advice. So we're about to do our segment called Hit It or Quit It.
Now, I have a call for help here from an anonymous truth teller. They said, I met this guy who is everything I asked for, but lacks direction. We're in our late 20s, so I understand that we are all figuring things out, but he only has a concept of a plan for his future with little progressive actions. I'm a college grad who is established in my career, and I'm falling in love with, am I falling in love with potential, or should I see it through?
Well, tell her this for me.
Ooh, this
Can you
hit too
tell-
close to home.
Oh, you did. Can you tell her this? Just put it and you text her and you tell her that we got a president who has a concept of a healthcare plan and he still made it. So it might be she could go ahead and hit it because concepts work in this country.
Concepts do work, but I will say potential will potentially have you effed up.
That's right. And I always say this on my show, just don't give away your 20s.
Come
You got
on,
this is the time when you make your mistake. The whole brain is not even formed at 26. So if you out there trying to make a plan or whatever, you can buy into potential. And what she was talking about, she's successful. You're not really successful. You got debt. You know, I got my own house. I got my own car. That's debt. And as my good friend Steve Raymond always says, it ain't what you had, is what you keep. Because people always say, man, back in the day, boy, I used to have this, you know, and you don't have it no more.
Nobody cared
So
what you had.
really, like, what you really gonna keep? And I think, you know, for her, the potential is great, but don't give away your 20s. Go on out there and do what you need to do by yourself,
Yeah,
for yourself.
I say quit it. I fell in love in my 20s and got engaged to marry a guy who had the most amazing potential, a wonderful guy, very faithful, came from a wonderful family, D1 college football player, BYU athlete, the guy next door, fine as hell, all those things, but he was potential. I spent all of my 20s until I got to 30, engaged, waiting for him to reach his full potential. I got 4 degrees while we were together, wrote a whole book while we were together, and thought that because I was so, my work ethic was so intense and I was so out there doing my thing, how could I not inspire him, right? And my daddy loved him. And you know, when I would come home year number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, he was still sitting on the couch on the same spot watching ESPN. And let me say this, I'm 42, I left him at 30, and at 42, and I say this with all due respect to him, when I did a checkup to see how he was doing, from some friends.
He's still
doing
sitting on the couch.
same thing. And so what I'm saying is,
probably
you
told
want to
him
get
that.
with, you want to choose the person. You're not choosing potential, because potential is something that stays right where it is a lot of times. And a person who is a person who has drive, it's in them. It ain't on them. And so if you don't see it in them, it ain't finna come year number 40. If anything, it's gonna slow up and it's gonna get worse, sis. So I say quit it, because I quit it and I look back and I'm like, Lord, I dodged a divorce.
bullet.
I dodged a bullet, and I dodged being sorry y'all, but the divorce statistic, and I would end up having a baby too. So I would have had a baby, a divorcee, Lord have mercy.
Indeed, and I might have been a stepdad, but that's okay.
Yes.
But no, honestly, and I just want to be real. When in my 20s, when I met this woman, I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't necessarily have a plan on where I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to do. I just had a failed deal with Universal. I'm working as an entrepreneur. I'm spending more. This is for entrepreneurs, cool. You know, right now, everybody like entrepreneur. I said entrepreneur. My mama said, baby, go get you a job. And so here's the thing. She was mature. She had an accounting job. She was safe. She was doing what she was supposed to do, although I owned some property because my daddy kind of taught me that. But what I learned from her is that she had the power to see what I couldn't see in my 20s. So when I would get down on myself, she would be like, you're not gonna give up. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do this. And I was just like, you think I can do that? And she actually helped me with that vision, and I was able to actually become what she saw when my vision became cloudy. So I think each person is individual. The real question, sis, is what I gotta ask you, is what do you see? Because sometimes you have to be able to speak into him, because I don't think I would have been here if that woman wouldn't have spoken some of my like crazy times. So I'm back drinking, smoking, selling everything and doing all this. She's like, that's not you. That's not the man that I met. You don't have to do this. I got us until we get on. And so, you know, when we turn 29, I made sure that she didn't have to work anymore, and she became what she needed to be.
But where does that end up leaving her? Like, you pour into this man, and
she ended up a life for years and never had to take care of Bill. I married her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Willie,
but to this point, to my point, like, it didn't work out. So it's like, at the end of the day, as a woman, you walk away from a failed relationship feeling like you gave and poured into somebody, and it financially worked out for you at the moment, but later down the line, another person benefits off of it.
Yeah.
So that's my big red flag. What I'm scared
but to
of
the
as a
contrary,
woman.
I can feel the same way. She's seeing someone else, and she's living a life. She has a name. She gets to go with that. I can feel the same way. But the circumstances that I'm speaking of is in 26, I didn't know where I was going. She gave me an opportunity to speak life into me to remind me of where I was going. We spent 17 years together. We did what we were supposed to do. And when we became adults, we realized that it just didn't work.
Let me say this, ladies. Don't choose potential, because then you end up clothing that man with your fairy tale ideology of what you want him to be. And every time you find out the reality, which is that he's not, you end up breaking your own heart. And then you gaslight him for not being that. And that's not fair. You need to find a man and a person is who you want, where you want him at, and be okay with that. You got to learn to choose the man and not the marriage or the relationship. Choose a man and not your fairy tale ideology, because your fairy tale ideology will always break your heart. My daddy said you will always be the bridesmaid and not the bride.
All right, that's all the time we have for tonight.
I don't believe that.
Don't
I know you
forget
don't.
to follow us on IG
still in a
at
fairy
True
tale.
Talk Fox on our personal handles. Good night.
Let us know what you think, because we can't decide.